Hey, good people, how you doing? Welcome to episode 36 of 254 Rugby. My name is Michael Kwambo. This is your go-to podcast for all the latest and greatest in the world of rugby. From the heart of Kenya to the global stage, there is a lot. But first, let's start by congratulating Kisii RFC, who have secured a return to the KRU Championship with a nail-biting 25-24 win over the NYS Spades in the Nationwide League final played in Nairobi on Saturday. Kisii are setting their sights on a Kenya Cup return. Remember, they were there during the 2018 season, having won the inaugural KRU Championship. And obviously, it was one season in which they played, got relegated, went to the championship, went as far as the KRU Nationwide League, which is the third tier of Kenyan club rugby, and they've done well to rise from the ashes. And as Sami Mutari was saying in our WhatsApp group that I am a member of, if Kisii was to reclaim all its players, it would be a force in Kenyan rugby. But it's great to see them on their return to the national stage, albeit in the second tier of a Kenyan club competition. They are joined by the NYS Spades, who have a remarkable story about them. Formed a few years ago, started playing in the second tier competitions on the National Sevens circuit, registered for the Nairobi conference of the KRU Nationwide League, reaching the final. They too have been promoted to the KRU Championship, and it breathes fresh hope for disciplined forces seeking a spot in the top tier, something that we haven't seen since the days of Ulinzi RFC and Ulinzi side that gave us the likes of Nick Kusenya, Jeff Vilembwa, Brian Malenya, Alan Madonye, the late Alan Makaka, Emmanuel Shitote, Dennis Mwanja, Paul Paumurunga, but to name a few. Well, to the teams, Kisii RFC, to the NYS Spades, congratulations on your promotion. Congratulations to Kisii on winning the third tier. All the best in the second tier as you pursue Kenya Cup promotion in coming seasons. For the NYS Spades, continue inspiring the rest of the disciplined forces. It would be great to see teams from the military, from the police forces. We already see the AP Warriors playing in the Nairobi conference of the Nationwide League. But it gives them hope that they too can climb to higher positions in terms of their status in Kenyan club rugby. Now, still speaking about Kenyan club rugby, hey, you guys, there has been drama in the South Coast Pirates where head coach Kevin Amiani has parted ways with the clubs in what is an acrimonious split. There have been allegations of misconduct and financial improprieties that have been leveled against Kevin Amiani, and it is a sad ending for what has been a budding career for the young coach. Remember, he was in charge when the Pirates got promoted to the Kenya Cup, actually steering them from the lower tier into the Kenya Cup. They played for one season. They just concluded season 24-25, after which they were demoted. But again, like we said, an acrimonious departure from the South Coast Pirates coaching job. And, part of that statement from the Pirates actually saying that Kevin Amiani is not authorized to do anything related to the club. Whoa, what a way to leave the club. And also, there are more coaching departures, this time from Kenya Harlequin, where Paul Paumurunga has been in charge since 2022. It was announced last week that he has parted ways with Kenya Harlequin, 8-time Kenya Cup champions. Well, Pau has done well at Queens, steadying the ship there in terms of their performances. He joined them at a time when they were in the lower reaches of the Kenya Cup, having narrowly escaped relegation in a season that saw Impala and Nondis relegated, doing well to stabilize the team, steering them to the Kenya Cup playoffs, but they failed to make the Final Four in successive seasons. But away from that, in the shorter version of the game is where his impact has been felt, steering the club to a few titles on the National Sevens circuit, as well as the 2024 National Sevens circuit overall title. Now, who is replacing Pau as head coach? It is none other than club legend, one club man for that matter, Patrice Agunda. Well, Patrice has played for Kenya Harlequin since leaving St. Mary's High School, Yala. Well, actually, that is the only team that he has played for Kenya Harlequin. had a long career as a player, close to a decade and a half, during which time he won multiple Kenya Cup titles, multiple titles on National Sevens Circuit, as well as National Sevens Circuit title, I think in 2012. Has also represented Kenya in the 7s and 15s versions of the game, and the Quins family will be hoping that Agunda can steer them back to glory. And still, in terms of management changes, this time it comes in leadership, and it comes west from Kisumu City, where Dr. Gabriel Eliazaro Ouma is the new chairman of Kisumu RFC following their annual general meeting held not too long ago. He takes over from Charles Kutwa. Remember, Kisumu RFC securing their status in the Kenya Cup for another season. This is a team that has really given to Kenyan rugby over the years, giving, wow, the list of players who've come through Kisumu is legendary. And again, if they were to have systems that will enable them to retain players, they would be a force to reckon with. Kisumu is also the home venue of the very popular Dala Sevens, one of the most popular legs on the National Sevens Circuit. Speaking of the National Sevens Circuit, Embu has been confirmed as a host venue of the National Sevens Circuit for the next 2 years. That is 2025 and 2026. For those who may not know, the National Sevens Circuit symbolizes the start of the new Kenyan season. So how it goes is that we start with sevens rugby before transitioning into 15s rugby with the league competitions and the cup competitions. So there is the National Sevens Circuit confirmed schedule for 2025. Driftwood Sevens gets us going in Mombasa on the 26th of July. On the 2nd of August, the circuit moves to the Rift Valley city of Nakuru for the Prince Lu Sevens, another popular destination. Nakuru, popularly referred to as Nax Vegas. I guess what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Another popular leg of the circuit. It will host the second round on the 2nd of August. There will be a break on the 9th of August before the circuit reconvenes in Nairobi for the Kisii Sevens, the oldest leg on the circuit, over 5 decades old and still going strong. Kisii Sevens will take place on the 16th of August at the RFUA ground in Nairobi. And then we will head to Embu on the 23rd of August for the Embu Sevens. First ever time that Embu is hosting a leg on the National Sevens Circuit. Another break at the end of August before the final 2 legs. The George Mwangi Kabeberi Memorial Sevens taking place at the Goan Institute in Nairobi, the home of Mwamba RFC. Another long-serving leg of the circuit has been played every year since 1988. It actually is the second oldest leg on the circuit. And then we will have the season finale, the Dala Sevens in Kisumu City, where we will be seeking to see who will be crowned the National Sevens Circuit champions in Kenya for the year 2025. Now, to international action, the Simbas have begun training. They are in Kakamega, where they are training for the Rugby Africa Cup. And to that extent, a 50-man squad has been named by the Kenya Rugby Union. It is in training. It is a squad that features a mix of youth and experience. There is a number of players getting call-ups for the first time. And some of the first-time call-ups, as we just look to project the squad on our screens, the squad is courtesy of Fanaka Studios. Some of the players getting call-ups to the Simbas training squad for the first time include Eric Cantona from Cabras Sugar, Charles Odhiambo from Nondescripts, Samuel Ovwamu from Oilers, Festus Shiasi from KCB, Sheldon Kahi from Quins, William Mwanji and Kevin Wekesa, as well as Patrick Sabatia from Cabras Sugar, Dysterius Ifedha from the Menengai Oilers, alongside Vincent Mwikhali and Celestine Boy, again from the Oilers. And Celestine Boy was part of the Kenya under-20 side that played at the Rugby Africa Cup in 2021 and 2022. And it's also important to note that there are 8 players who've been called up from the Kenya Sevens squad, in addition to Festus Shiasi, William Mwanji, and Kevin Wekesa. We do have John Okoth, Samuel Asati, Brian Tanga, Jone Kubu, and Vincent Onyala as the Simbas look to, challenge for qualification to the Rugby World Cup 2027. And there's also players who are based outside the country, Melvin Dhairu and Ian Njenga, who play their rugby in Romania. We do have the likes of Thomas Okeo and David Bunduki playing their rugby in South Africa, as well as Bethwell Anami, who plays his rugby in France. They are part of the larger 50-man squad, which will be trimmed down to 33 ahead of the Rugby Africa Cup in Uganda in July. And on that note, Namibia have also named their squad. Namibia have named a 48-man squad, also looking to get their best available players. There are players from the Seattle Seawolves, for example. There's players from Europe, South Africa, obviously home-based players as well. Namibia represented Africa at the Rugby World Cup since 1999. They're looking to maintain that streak and obviously looking to bring their strongest available squad to Uganda for the competition, which takes place in July. Zimbabwe, they have been preparing as well. They have so far played 2 build-up matches against Zambia, a game that they won 70-12, and against Botswana, a game that they won by 80 points to 12. They too are looking both locally and internationally to get their best available squad ahead of it being trimmed to 33. Now, Kenya will be playing against Uganda in a direct quarterfinal at that Rugby Africa Cup. It is of significance because you lose that game and you are no longer in contention. We have been keeping tabs on Ugandan rugby as well. And probably within the next few weeks, we will have a collaborative effort with our friends from Uganda where we'll preview both our seasons as well as the Rugby Africa Cup. And because of that, we've got to keep tabs on Ugandan rugby. The Black Pirates are the champions of Uganda, having secured a thrilling 44-23 win against the Ginger Hippos. It was an interesting game because it was tied 23-23 at the close of regulation time. But in extra time, the Pirates scored 3 unanswered tries, all converted by Ivan Magomu to win the Ugandan Championship. Well, for the Pirates, again, congratulations on winning their 3rd ever title. As for the Hippos, congratulations, a hearty one, because it's the first time ever in the final. And recently, in a conversation with a friend from Uganda, we were talking about how Eastern Uganda and Western Kenya, that belt, which is only separated by the border, is a hotbed for rugby in the region. And, it's a collective bonus for both countries. But again, it's good to see the game of rugby in Uganda go beyond its bastions and heading into other parts of the country. And for the Ginger Hippos, a good win. Many, the underdogs, had been rooting for them. And we just hope that there's plenty more to come from the Hippos. Now, there is some sad news coming in from France. It happened again last week. And in this news, the Fijian winger Josiah Raisuke tragically lost his life when his car collided with a train as he was en route to training. Raisuke was a silver medalist in the Rugby Sevens competition with Fiji at the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris. He played his rugby for Castres in France's top 14. And from us here at 254 Rugby, it's our condolences to the family, friends, and teammates. And, rugby is poorer without Raisuke. Now, on a historic note, Maro Itoje is the new captain of the British and Irish Lions. It is historic, and the reason being, it being historic is that Itoje is the first black man to captain the British and Irish Lions. Itoje is of Nigerian descent, but an Englishman. He becomes the first black captain in Lions history and the first Englishman to lead the Lions since Martin Johnson in 2001. And what can we say? Congratulations to Itoje on the achievement, on the milestone. And we're looking forward to a great series when the British and Irish Lions make that trip down under to Australia. And, it should be some great rugby when that time comes. Now, speaking of Martin Johnson. Martin Johnson captained England to the 2003 Rugby World Cup. And he will be visiting Nairobi in October this year at the invitation of the Rugby Patrons Society, where he will be the chief guest at the dinner taking place on Friday, 24th October. Details around the venue, dinner pricing, all that stuff, obviously going to be confirmed in future communications from the Rugby Patron Society. And just a glimpse of what the Rugby Patron Society do. Well, this is a body that was founded in 1953, a body that actually raised funds for the construction of the RFUA ground, the home of Kenyan rugby. And in 1996, or in the years leading up to 1996, they are the ones who conceptualized the Safari Sevens and actually ran it for some time, probably close to 10 years, until they handed it over to the Kenya Rugby Union in the mid-2000s. Now, steering away from elite rugby, the Rugby Patron Society are more engaged in developing the game at the grassroots level. And in subsequent episodes of 254 Rugby, we will be keeping you updated with some of the stuff that the Rugby Patrons Society do. Now, we are coming to the close of this episode of 254 Rugby. And what can we say? The debate around the restructuring of the World Rugby Sevens series has continued to spark criticism over a lack of transparency and its impact on developing nations. The future of the global game is online, and we'll keep an eye on how this unfolds. And with that, we have come to a close of episode 36 of 254 Rugby. Be sure to follow our social media platforms, subscribe to our podcast, and stay tuned for the latest in rugby from Kenya and beyond. My name is Michael Kwambo, and until next time, let's keep the passion for rugby alive. Catch you later.